Hello, everybody. It's Rex Sikes, and welcome to All Things Rex Worldwide Live. It's another Thursday, and I'm so glad that you're here. If you're watching from the Facebook page, the Los Angeles Tribune Facebook page, you can actually leave comments and ask questions of my guest and me. And I hope that you'll do that. If you're watching from anywhere else, that's not possible, but from the Los Angeles Tribune Facebook page, you're actually able to comment and ask questions. And then we'll try and take those questions, as we're able to. I want to thank you for tuning in. We record every Thursday live. We live stream and record the show at this very same time, 3 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern in the United States. If you're watching elsewhere, you're going to have to calculate your own time. But we're so glad that you join us. Every Thursday, I bring you a different guest who's inspiring, motivating, who's overcome some challenge, who's an entrepreneur, who's a spiritual leader or a thought leader, or somebody who has accomplished something in their life that you might like to learn, you might like to model, or you might like to add into your own experience. So again, thank you for being here, and I appreciate everything. Now, this will also be recording on the Los Angeles Tribune YouTube channel. It's on my Create Your Best Life with Rex channel. It's on the Los Angeles Tribune LinkedIn page. It's on my profile LinkedIn page. It's on Twitch, Twitter, Periscope, and all of the replays are available on Roku TV. So if you have Roku TV, you can get it on demand as well. My guest today is Happiness in Your Life author Do Zantamata. Now, this woman is an incredible woman. She's an author of 12 books, 5 of which are currently published. We're going to be talking about that in just a moment. She writes a blog. She's an entrepreneur. She has the Happiness in Your Life Facebook page, which has 4 million plus followers, which is actually down from its original number because of whatever goes on with Facebook. So she knows her business. She knows her stuff. And we're going to be talking about happiness and about her blog and about her books and about her following and all sorts of things. So welcome, Do Zantamata. How are you today, Do? Oops, no, I've got you muted. Sorry. There you go.
I'm doing really good. Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. And I'm now just putting your web address for your blog into the chat room. And if I'm able to, I'm going to try and get that up on the screen for everyone as well. So there it is.
Yay. Thank you.
So I'm doing fabulous, and you're doing
wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. It's going to be a lot of fun. I really appreciate what you just said. I could hear everything you just said. I was like, oh.
Well, my pleasure. Go on. My pleasure. I'm so glad that you're here. I have been a follower of your page for a long time. I mean, we get to know each other a little bit through Facebook before and connected more recently, but I have been, I don't know how many years I've been following your page or we've known about each other.
It could be up to 10 and a half. Actually, this morning, there was someone that it said, someone shared a memory, and I looked and it was from today, 10 years ago. And I thought, wow, it's hard to imagine back then that I would be seeing that today, 10 years later,
Truly amazing, isn't it? Well, it's so good to be connected, and it's so nice. There's somebody in the chat room who said, well, I can't see it now. It's an issue with trying to run the show and talk at the same time. Let me get back to the chat room. Lynn says, love her and her book. So we have somebody who showed up. And
thank you, Lynn.
Now you have right now, I told the audience, it's streaming live from the Facebook page where people can leave comments and questions. So that's where it shows up. But people are also going to be able to watch from your Facebook page, which is the Happiness in Your Life. They may not be able to answer us questions during the show because we're on the Tribune page, but they can watch and they can listen and they can share it. And more than anything, we hope that you do comment. We do ask questions because we can always answer questions after the show too as well. But so feel free to interact and feel free to share this near and far to your friends and family and even strangers. So, Do, let me ask you, how did you get involved with the notion of happiness in your life and in writing and deciding to author books and then create this page?
Well, that goes back way back. Get out my storybook. That goes back to I've actually talked about this a little bit, but not too much. But when I was 24, I had an experience with meningitis and seeing the other side and whatnot. And I thought, well, this can't be it. If it is it, boy, have I ever wasted my time, because you don't think about it. Everyone knows we're going to pass at some point, but you don't think about it. But seeing that there would be a definite end, and looking back at what your life was rather than at what it currently is, that really inspired the whole thing. And I wasn't sure that it was going to be a book series. Social media had never been invented yet. This was in 1998. I didn't know that anyone else ever had this happen. So that was kind of the start of it, the big revelation. But it's still, I mean, I still had a lot of habits to change, a lot of things to figure out, and I still do. So it's not like you have some big revelation and everything changes. There's still tiny little changes and things you have to learn and experience and have unfold before they can happen. So how did it get from there to here? Well, gosh, I started writing. I started journaling, just getting thoughts out and paying attention. And I was doing video and independent movies. So I really thought that it was going to be through that I would communicate things, you know, where I used to have a lot of anger. Not that I don't have any now, but I used to hold on to it, and I don't hold on to it now. That's a gigantic change.
Welcome to all things. I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. Just heard you. I was like, what was it? But just certain things that I wish I knew this before, because my life would be better.
Sorry, I don't know what's going on.
Go ahead.
It's a public
things that I wish I knew this before, because my life would be better.
Sorry, I don't know what's going on. Go ahead. It's a public
things that I wish I knew this before, because my life would be better. Is that your computer on? With the delay?
I was trying to go to your Facebook page, and what I kept encountering was the live stream of your Facebook page, so I couldn't, you know, and I couldn't shut it off. So I.
Oh, you could have shut me up. That wouldn't be the first time, huh?
So yeah, so I apologize for the little. You know,
right.
This is real and raw. You were saying a lot. You know, not everything changes. Sometimes there's little things that happen every day. We just had one of those.
Yeah, there you go. See, and it's like the way that you might react or the way that you wouldn't react or what you make of it. That's kind of up to you. Oh, I see a comment from Rick Henry. I know Rick Henry. He's wonderful. He's on my page.
Yeah, that's awesome. Awesome.
Oh, he's so sweet. Thank you, Rick. I sort of read your comment real quick, but got my little glasses.
So I'm sorry, you were interrupted in the middle of talking about how you went.
I was saying that I thought it was going to be movies because I was doing independent movies and such. But back at that time, gosh, this was probably 2003, 2004. So only 4 or 5 years, 3, 4, 5 years after the actual near-death experience. At that time, you needed tape and cameras and editing equipment and people to do lighting and people to do sound. And so everything was so slow that it just wasn't going to happen. So I started journaling more and just getting thoughts out. And I thought I'll just figure this out at some other point, but I don't want to lose these things because sometimes you forget things. And so I started journaling, and then I thought, well, what about books? I mean, books is something I could just do. And I thought, well, I'll look for a publisher, or, you know, I was still going on that. Like, so many things have changed in the last 20 years that now this is my phone and we're talking and there's no sound person and there's no lighting person. That so much has changed that we can really connect with everyone, everywhere, at any time, instantly. And as far as books, at that time, Amazon and CreateSpace and self-publishing didn't exist. So you had to find a publisher. But I've self-published all my books now, and through the computer and learning how to do graphic design, which I didn't know I would use, but that's how I do my book covers. That's how I do all the posts that I do on my page and the little videos that I do on my page. You can do everything from a phone and a computer, and it's just amazing. But had I stuck to, oh, I have to do it on videos with tapes and this is too big, I'll never have the ability to do this. Or had I stuck to, I need a publisher, nothing would be out. So that's kind of the biggest takeaway from everything, is that even if you don't know how you're going to get there, if you have something you want to do and communicate, do something. whether even if it's just journaling, and stay open for the world to change or for different opportunities to pop up, that you'll be able to do that something in a bigger way.
That is truly a really beautiful point. So many people wait, they don't do it. They say, I don't have the wherewithal, or I don't have the money, or I don't have the experience, or I don't have the equipment, or I don't have that. And what you just demonstrated was, hey, you know what, I can journal. And then on top of it, you go, I self-published all my books. And now the technology has come along where, look, I'm on my phone. We've got all these different, platforms that allow us to do things. I mean, you back in the movie business, I mean, think about that. We share that in common. Making a movie, if you wanted to make a movie, say in the 70s, 80s, or even the 90s, and it was 16 millimeter, let's forget, 35 millimeter, before the advent of digital, you had to buy the raw stock, and that cost. You had to process it. You had to have the equipment, and then you had to have light, so that the camera could pick up this. I mean, there was just an incredible amount of expense and energy and time. And now, so
well, it is. It used to be there was a lot of room for a lot of people to work, but as second or third lighting guy, or as third person that's going to do the catering, so people say, oh, all the jobs are gone, but you can be the creator now. And whether it's something inspirational, or whether it's, I just shared a video yesterday on how to make candles, whether it's a candle business you want to start, whatever you have passion in, you can get it out to the world now with your phone.
No, it's truly amazing. That is an excellent point. Would you
what a time to be alive.
While we're here, would you hold up one of your book titles? Actually, you've got a couple of them there, don't you? So let's hold them up one at a time so people can see. This is Karma. And where can they get that?
On my website. Well, I can link that after, because it's one of those names that they'll be like, did I say what? Or they can get off Amazon or barnesandnoble.com. I think even Barnes and Noble, if you go to a store and they don't have it on the shelves, but if you go to the store, you can order it to have it delivered there if you don't like online shopping. Got the next one.
Intuition. And that one says it went by too fast.
Oh, sorry. Intuition.
So Karma, Intuition.
That's book 2. Book 3 is Forgiveness.
Awesome.
Book 4 is Trust. Book 5 is Appreciation. And then we've got Improve Your Life in 80 Days, which was not planned, and I can tell you about that. And we've also got Quotes About Living, which is a quotes book, and it's got one chapter of quotes from each of the books, the 5 that are out now, and also the other 7 that aren't yet. And Quotes About Living is also as an app. It's available. And I can read from any of the books today if you like.
Say that again?
So I can do a little reading from any of the books today, too.
Well, first, what I would like to say is that you have Karma as an audiobook, and I listened to that. I just finished the audiobook the other day. I was very impressed with the book, and very nicely done.
Thank you so much.
Oh, no, my pleasure. Thank you. And what I'd like to do is talk a little bit about that, because, and we'll get into other things as well. But, people, the concept of karma, they think, okay, I did something bad. Something's going to screw me up either, instantly or in another life or whatever. How do you define karma?
Well, a lot of people, and what I used to think was karma was what goes around comes around. And it's kind of if you believe in it or not. And that was the extent of it. And then if you see people who are, I won't say bad people. Well, maybe I will at some other point, but not that I'm conscious of it. When people choose to do bad things and they seem to be rewarded for it or getting away with it, people say, oh, see, karma doesn't exist. You don't know what's going on in their heads. You don't know what their future holds. So it's not really that. Now, karma is not reward or punishment. Karma is understanding. It's action, consequence, and understanding. And another thing with karma is that a lot of people, they think they're being really good. Their intentions are good. And so they're just doing and giving and they have nothing. Well, method is different from intention. So it may be that your intentions are wonderful and then your method is horrible. So you just give away everything. You have nothing. You're choosing people in your life that are kind of the loudest voice in the room, and they're the users or the people who have no interest in giving anything back to you or even caring about you, just what they can get from you. So your method is a bit flawed. If people don't understand the karmic reasoning behind this, they may say, oh, that's it. I'm not going to be a good person anymore. And that's horrible. That's a loss for the world because we need all the good people we can get. But if you are a good person that also values your own time, also values yourself, appreciates when people think of you, consider you, or give to you, those are the kind of relationships you're going to have in your life. And then, of course, the big kind of buzzword, which I've been working on some stuff on, is boundaries and what exactly that means. Because good people who love to give 100% need to have boundaries. Everyone is in a mix with a lot of other people. And if you're a good person, you say, oh, good people, no, what is it?
Sorry.
That's all right. It's no good deed goes unpunished. Well, when people believe that, what are they going to think? I'll just stop doing good deeds because it just ends up biting me later. No, it does not. Not all the time. But what you have to do is be aware of the methods and know that people with no boundaries attract people and stick to people who like having no boundaries because they can just rob the store, and people who allow themselves to be taken advantage of will attract people who are looking to take advantage of someone. So it's kind of like, if you think about it in a physical sense, if there's someone who wants to burglarize a home and they're looking down the street and this one has an alarm system, this one has a big dog in the front window, they're going to walk right by those. So those are the people with boundaries. Those are the people who don't allow themselves to be taken advantage of. And then they see a house with a big treasure chest in the front window and it's wide open. There's gold and cash everywhere and the door's wide open. And there's a very nice person with no clue sitting in the front room. Which place do you think they're going to go in? So we've got to look at boundaries the way we do with our home. We have a door and a lock on the door. And if someone comes knocking, just swing the door open and be like, come on in, take whatever you want. You look at the doorbell. What can I help you? We have to kind of take more of that approach on with ourselves and our time and what we share and give and how much we help certain people, or not even help, but even just giving. That's kind of the long answer. Oh, you're quiet again. I can't hear you.
I said, thank you.
There you are.
Yeah, I'm back. Those are all great points. And
thank you.
No, I really appreciate that. And what I would like to do is I'd like to take you back to the definition of karma again. It's not
reward and punishment. It is action, consequence, and understanding the relationship with both. And consequence is not necessarily bad. People always say, oh, you're going to have to face the consequences. You can face the good consequences too. Consequence just means the thing that happened after the action. So action, consequence, the actual relationship between the two, understanding.
But there would always be a consequence, whether positive or not.
Sure. And a lot of people who are doing bad stuff, if you think of, I don't want to call out somebody's name, but if you think of people that do Ponzi schemes, sometimes they get away with it for 20, 30, 40 years. And people who would know what they're doing would say, see, there's no karma. Look what he's getting away with. But where do they end up? In prison, alone, their entire life. They won't have time to make it up, and their entire life and legacy and what they leave to their children and their children's children and their friends is that this person was not a good person. So that is karma. And what about the people that they scammed and conned? That's a different kind of karma, because in order for them to be scammed and conned, they had to trust and value someone else's opinion more than their own. They had to maybe be afraid to ask, like, well, I haven't gotten any returns, or this thing doesn't really look right, or this isn't what you said would happen. There's usually red flags, especially over that long of a time. I want to be very careful not to victim blame, but my point in a lot of it is not to blame victims, but to show people how to stop being a victim. Because rather than continue with just being you're a really good person, eventually you're going to find someone that doesn't take advantage of you, I would rather say, you're a really good person, and I want to show you how to stop being taken advantage of, because you don't deserve that, So it's kind of like, I don't want to use the word coddle, but I just did. So it's less coddling, more empowering. And that's kind of the way to go.
And for the person who's caught up in the Ponzi scheme or whatever it is, they may go through life with resentment. And so hence you have a book on forgiveness.
Yes. Yes, I do. Yeah. Forgiveness is not about then being best friends with the Ponzi scheme person. It's not about ever even talking to someone. You can still hold anger and resentment for someone that has been passed away for 25 years and they don't care. that you still are mad at them. So forgiveness, all it is, you can look it up in the dictionary, I swear, all it is setting down resentment from an event in the past towards a circumstance or a person. That's all it is. A lot of people think forgiveness means reconciliation. They think forgiveness means amnesia. It doesn't mean any of those things. It just means you stop carrying around that garbage in yourself. You get your life back. Whether you talk to them again depends on trust. So forgiveness is about the past, present, and future. If they're to be in your life in the same capacity or in a reduced capacity, that's about trust. And it's trust on if they're going to repeat the same thing again. If you're sure they are, why would you have them there? You're going to have to forgive them all over again and forgive yourself for letting yourself put up with that.
That's excellent points. And I think a lot of people miss that because they're too busy dragging around the past. That's what they've always done. And they need to, at some point, become aware, hey, you know what? I don't do that. I have an analogy that I use. It says if you wore every piece of clothing you've ever had in your life, and you just kept wearing it, you'd get to the point where you wouldn't be able to move and wouldn't be able to do anything. And yet that's how people drag their past with them.
That's good. Yeah. And I was going to do a little video of it before, but I haven't done it yet. But it was going to be about picking up bags of garbage. And then I would have someone say, hey, think fast. And they throw garbage and you catch it, but then you carry it with you. So it's all this like heavy, stinking garbage, which your analogy is much nicer, all a bunch of clothes. But mine is like heavy, stinking garbage that, you don't have to carry that anymore. You can just set it down, because that's really what it is. It's garbage in your mind, in your heart. It spills over into relationships. Like you meet someone and they say, I had someone once, it was on a first date, and I ordered a lemonade. He was like, I seem like a really nice person. I ordered a lemonade, and he says, my ex-wife used to drink lemonade. I mean, I was like, wow, your ex. He started just going on and on about the ex-wife, and I thought, she's not even here. She doesn't even have to be here to ruin your date. You're doing that all for yourself, because I don't want to go out with him again. You know what I mean? He didn't need me. He needed a friend to talk to that he already knows, or a counselor or something. And so that's how the past spills over into the present over something so insignificant. Lemonade, really? Like that's what's going to set you off? You can't be that attached to your past. That lemonade destroys your present and future.
And yet it's amazing, isn't it, how many people just allow the even little things, I mean, not just the big things in life, but the little things in life to just get them derailed.
Yeah. And I really think it's because, for me personally, I didn't know there was a choice to set it down. I had no idea. I thought, this happened, it's real, it's going to be with me for life. No, it's not. Not if you choose to set it down, I mean, if you believe that, it will. If you believe that, it will be with you your whole life, and every person you ever meet is going to hear about it, and they will feel bad for you, and it's horrible, and it will always be tragic and awful that it happened. But you don't have to make it your life-defining time or event or thing that happened. You can set it down and give yourself, you deserve even more to give yourself the life that you should have had all the way along. That beautiful, wonderful, free life to love and trust and receive and give and all the great things that the world has to offer.
That just is amazing. I mean, it's great advice, and it's great. How did you, again, going back to your story, how did you get to that point where you started to discover yourself? You were journaling, you had meningitis. I mean, what was the, I guess.
Well, that was the deal. It was the meningitis and the near-death experience. That was really the, people say, oh, that's so horrible. So, no, it's not. That I wouldn't trade it for a million years, because I would have spent my whole life carrying around those bags of garbage and not having any idea, and I was so angry and so resentful, and probably not. I mean, that's my view now. I think I was probably normal, if you want to use that word, but seeing it after and seeing that nothing of that matters. None of that stuff matters. And I had all this life and had all these things going for me. And I was just so focused on being trapped by the things I thought I was trapped by. So it's almost like, that's what I share in all the books. It says nothing. That wasn't even going to be a thing. I mentioned it once because someone asked, how did you start? And I said, well, I had meningitis and an NDE, because it felt personal for me. I was never really going to even share it, but that's where everything in the books comes from, is from living from that perspective, which can be wonderful, but everything has a positive and a negative. That's the world that we live in. It's duality. So on the positive side, I get things that I would have never got without that happening. I get things that people maybe are going to get when they're 80 or when they have their own crossing over moment. But on the downside, I don't get a lot of things anymore that I used to. I had a really hard time for a while having concrete goals in life because everything in the world seems so fleeting. And so, oh, what's the point of that? Or someone would say, I'm not sure if I should do my walls in eggshell or robin's egg. And I'd be like, who cares? It's just a wall. Like, I stopped being able to enjoy what we're supposed to enjoy here, which is the present moment, physical things in the world. And so now I've been doing a lot more things. Like you'll notice on my page, I mentioned I made the candles. You know, if you think in the grand scheme of things, who cares about a candle? But I made it and I enjoy it and I enjoy burning. I enjoy giving it to friends. So that little candle is just as important as some big wisdom thing or a nice bar of soap. You know, when you're out of the physical, you can't smell things. You can only remember what things used to smell like. So it's almost like being in a dream state. So from that, we're supposed to enjoy things. And I'm really coming back to that now, where I'm probably even extra enjoying them, because I just, for a few years there, anything physical world and anything that didn't seem so big and grand, I just had no use for. You know, it was probably pretty self-righteous, if I were to admit it.
Well, but you know, this is so cool because you're talking about, you know, enjoying little things or enjoying like making a candle or doing things and having that, you know, help you be happy. I mean, to live life, to enjoy life. I mean, if it's not enjoyable, then what is it? First off, you know, if it's not going to be the kind of life that you would like to have for yourself, what else kind of life are you having? It would be my question to people. So you have that choice. But the other thing that you said that is truly important is I wouldn't trade the meningitis or the near death experience for anything, because that's where or why I am where I am today, that was the catalyst for me to discover all these other things. And that's what so many people, I think, miss. You know, we've been taught to avoid hardship or difficulty or adversity or pain and suffering in so many ways that we do everything we can to avoid it. Yes, there is a little bit of a, you know, there is that evolutionary thing inside of us that, you know, we look for things to, you know, to avoid so that we can stay alive. The brain, you know, does look, you know, to fight, flight, or flee kind of thing. But the notion that those moments are oftentimes the most transformational moments for people. You know, it'd be nice if everybody just easily, you know, transformed. But a lot of times, in order to even get the awareness that they need to transform, a little bit of their life gets shaken up. You know, they have an experience similar to yours, or similar in you know, not in detail, but similar in the fact that they have a situation that grabs their attention and it requires them, and then they have the choice: do I learn to live, you know, a fulfilled life, or do I just complain about what, you know, has been given me? So yeah, I love what you share and how you share it, and that you write your books, and that you know, you're kind of like you're helping so many people. I mean, when you think about it, you're making available to them some positivity and optimism, and not just that, but you're doing so much to help people enrich themselves by what you're doing.
Well, thank you. And yeah, sometimes people will say, oh, the person who wrote this obviously hasn't been through much, you know, on one of the Facebook posts. I was like, oh, you have no idea. You have no idea. But in a way, I almost take it as a compliment, because that means I have done my job at becoming resilient enough to be able to think that way. But everyone can, literally everyone can. What I was going to say is, you were talking about if nothing ever happened, wouldn't it be wonderful? Technically, yes. But how I kind of picture it is a straight line or the ground. What kind of seeds can you plant on the surface? Not many. There are some seeds for plants that will grow on the surface, but you have to dig down and plant a seed and then cover it in the dirt and then have it come up. And those roots, the deeper they go, the stronger that tree is, and the higher it can be, and the more spread out it can be, and the more people can be inspired by how wonderful it is. And there is, I always forget if it's Rumi or Hafiz, but he says something about the deeper you're carved, the more you can be filled. And then what you're saying, people choose to be fulfilled. You are going to choose what you fill yourself back up with. Is it going to be more appreciation and more love and more joy? Because you're just at that point, a carved out empty vessel once you've gone through hardships. Or are you going to fill it up with muck? Or are you going to just stay down there? And if anyone's having a good time, say, oh, well, that's easy for you to say. You've been through what I've been through. You know, you're still choosing what your life is going to be. And there are certain things that you can avoid. I wouldn't go jumping in a pit of snakes. There are certain things that you cannot avoid. So if you find yourself in an unavoidable pit of snakes and you manage to get out of it, that's wonderful. If you keep looking, oh, if only I hadn't been in that pit of snakes, you could do that your whole life and never move on from that moment. And that, as you said, knocked over my books, as you said, was the thing about the forgiveness. To forgive that would be to release that resentment and pain and carry with you the wisdom that, you know what, I'm walking out on this, in this field today, and it's a sunny day and it's beautiful and I feel good. It may not always be this way. And there was a time in my life when it wasn't. I was stuck in a pit of snakes. So what a wonderful day this is. And if all your days had been that wonderful, how could you really appreciate it the same way? It would just be the same as every other day, you know? So I also think if you have the bad stuff first, thank goodness, because then you can appreciate it. If you have a good, pretty easy life, then all of a sudden you fall off the cliff into this really rough time, I think that'd be so hard, because what do you have to compare it to? Great stuff, you know? So anyone who's had early on a lot of hard stuff, good on you. Let's go. You know, we can we can build from here. You've got all the tools you need to be able to see, yes, other worlds that aren't so good are possible in my life, and this one is not one of them. I'm gonna make this one the best it's ever been. I'm gonna pick up my books.
No, go for it. I'm gonna make a comment, and then we're gonna have to do a brief intermission for the Los Angeles Tribune, who is our host, who's responsible for the show. I would just add that you know, it's amazing that the brain has the capacity to actually take something and make it like white noise. So if those people who ride motorcycles understand this, you know, you buy a motorcycle, you get on a motorcycle and you're riding with a friend, you know, you're screaming at each other because you can barely hear. But after a while, the brain starts shutting out the sound of the motorcycle, and pretty soon people can drive alongside each other and converse fairly normally and hear each other. You can go into a factory, you know, that's very, very loud, and because you're exposed to it a while, you know, if you work in the factory, people are going, I can't hear you. What are you saying? And then after a while, they're just conversing normally because the brain has this, it just makes it white noise and it dims it down. So, you know, we lose a signal value if it's always the same. So the interesting thing about music is that music, one, it changes, it goes high or low in tip, but it also has silence in between the beats, or we would never be able to differentiate one note from the other note. It would just be noise. It wouldn't be anything that we like. So there's this progression in music, both highs and lows and front to back, where there's actually space between the beats, but it may not seem like it, or space between the notes so that we can differentiate. And in life, that's what life gives us. It gives us highs and lows and spaces where some spaces are not as pleasant as other spaces, but they're all there for our good, in the same way that if it weren't for wind and hard rain and storms, a tree or plant would never grow to survive, because it would just grow, and then the first big rainstorm or windstorm would take out the tree. So a little bit of hardship mixed in with all this stuff is perfect for our growth and development. If you pick up a dumbbell, you know, if you don't exercise your muscles with a little bit of resistance, your muscle doesn't grow. They atrophy in space. That's why people who are in the space station for a long time come back to Earth, where there's gravity. Their muscles have, if they don't exercise, their muscles have atrophied, and they're not used to the weight of their own body weight being on the planet again. So all of our struggles, all of our hardships, all of these, whether it's a signature moment, like a near-death experience, or whether it's just this kind of ongoing malaise, you know, for a while where things are just not working out, are truly to our benefit if we realize they're to our benefit. I'm not saying that they're ordained for our benefit. They could be, but they're just it's that old saying, make lemonade, right? You know, life, so it's make lemonade. I want to come back.
to say, that's a good thing, but it's to say, what is the good thing that you can make out of this? No, that was not a good thing, but you can make something good out of it if you really think. And then you can look back after and say, it was because of that, but if you never make the good thing, guess what? It's always going to be bad. Do you guys do your commercial?
Yep, we're going to do the commercial for the Los Angeles Times. So everybody just hang in there for a second. This is the hosting company, did I say Times? The Los Angeles Tribune.
Hello and welcome to the Los Angeles Tribune. Since 1886, our name has been a part of the world of journalism. We've earned a reputation for being a publication that practices integrity, authenticity, and responsibility. For general inquiries, contact today. Thank you on behalf of the Los Angeles Tribune team. Hello and welcome.
Today is a day of little snags. This is awesome. This is a really wonderful conversation. I'm really enjoying having this with you and discussing this in this way. And I think it's eminently useful for the people who are here and those who will watch. Thank you for Sharon. The thing I would like to turn our attention back to just a bit was how you got started in all this, because you're an entrepreneur. You're talking about being in the film business. You decided that you could journal, and you started to self-publish. Now you've got a following of 4 million people.
Mm-hmm.
I think today is almost impossible to do. I mean, the way Facebook operates is very difficult to get a reach, but you got a reach. How can you
watch what you're putting out there?
What?
I said, watch what you're putting out there. It's going to be true and true and true, and that's all it's going to be true.
That's true. I mean,
it was impossible 10 years ago too.
So how did you do it? I mean, is there a tip or suggestion or things that you can steer people in terms? What I love what you just said is don't affirm, the impossible. So that was the first great point.
How did I do it? Well, I can tell you that I started it. I thought I was going to have my book first. And I thought at the time, actually, I was going to do one book. I thought that was kind of all that was in my brain to share, was one book of 12 chapters. So then I went to this writer's cruise thing, and they said, oh, if your platform is more important almost than your book. And so I thought, okay, I'll start a platform. And they said, you're going to need to know graphic design. You're going to need to know computers. You're going to need to know how to do a website. And the lady beside me, I was thinking, oh, wow, I know how to do all that stuff because I had already done graphic design freelance. I taught myself that. I already made a website for the movie stuff. The lady beside me, she turns, she goes, sounds like it'd be easier to have another baby. And I was like, I don't think it would be easy to have a baby, but I think what this is saying is easy. So I started the Facebook page April 2011, and I didn't have Karma out, my first book, until January 2012. So I didn't have everything ready. And then here's the kicker. When I was writing Karma, which I thought I was going to be writing a book called Happiness in Your Life, and it would be 12 chapters, the Karma chapter ended up being 144 pages. Oh, that's going to be a real long book. So I changed it to 12 books, a short book series of 12 books. And that's why they're coming out. And then people will say, oh, I can't find the other books. And so I haven't written them yet. I had no idea any of the social media. I had no idea I was going to be creating stuff and using my graphic design from 10 years before that I had started learning, and doing posts every single day, and using my video editing that I had learned 5 and 6 years before to make little videos about the stuff I write. So I'm kind of really going with it. And I don't think anything, I'm sure there's some mistakes, but I don't think some of the things that I would have thought were mistakes are mistakes at all. If I had waited to write that one perfect book of 12 chapters, I probably wouldn't have anything out right now because it just wouldn't exist, Did that answer the question, or did I just?
No, this is
on a tangent.
This is beautiful because I'm a huge fan of Napoleon Hill and some of the turn of the century, last century thought leaders and things like that. And one of the things that Hill always says is, know what you want, but you don't have to know how to get it. You just have to know what you want. And
Yeah.
some of the what you just shared in terms of conventional wisdom, he would say, he has a formula for how you get what you want. But at a certain point, he says, you start where your feet are and you do whatever you can do, even if you can make a plan and your plan is going to change. You're going to adjust and continue along the way. The first plan you make is going to probably be, redone many, many times. But what you just said is, I didn't even have my book. Somebody said, the platform is more important than the book. So you started to focus on the platform. You've built a following of like 4 million people, and then your book comes out a year later, and you guys have, and it changed from being one book with 12 chapters to 12 books, that you're doing over time. And I haven't written everything, but you exemplify this process of just begin where you are and do what you can, know what you want, and then build it. And you go, I edit and I write and I do this and I learned graphic design. And some woman is going, that would be easier to have a baby than to do that. And you're like, but I do all these things already. Because, so
I had no idea I was so prepared.
Yeah, so there you are, and a lot of people, it's that thing that a lot of people sit and they wait and they go, when the conditions are right, or if I have enough money, or if I get my book done, or if I only had the right cover, or, and they just don't do anything while they're sitting there and waiting. And you just did some things that have resulted in just so much growth and, in terms of a following and things like that. And then I said, well, it's harder to do today. And you're like, well, don't affirm that. And I go, yeah, you're absolutely correct.
Well, that was what your question was. Thank you for all that. That was what your question was about the following. When I started the page, I started with one of the posts it was a reshare of the one that it was in that format where I just put some quotes that I'd written, like from my journal. And I thought, well, if I put the website, because I made the website happinessinyourlife.com, I didn't even put my name on my quote because I thought, well, of course everyone's gonna know I wrote it. There's my website. And so a lot of my early stuff is out there without my name anywhere near it. You do learn things like that. There's some things I wish I would have known. But I was putting out quotes, and then I started doing pictures with words and the quote posters, and I was just doing that every day. And after about, I'm trying to remember now because it was 10 years ago. I know that 6 months in, I was like, the social media thing isn't happening, and that's when I wrote It Starts With a Dream, because I was trying to think, what else can I do? What else can I do? And I came up with, I'm doing everything I can do. And the last part of It Starts With a Dream is add patience and time, and it ends with a dream come true. So there you go. But I remember when I had 200 followers on the page, and I was like, wow, there's a movie theater down the street here. It's called the NZN Theater, and it's an independent movie theater and whatnot. And I'd shown movies there, and I thought, that's like, that whole theater is full. I was so impressed. So to be honest, the numbers disappeared from my reality a long time ago. Not that I don't appreciate every single person. I do. I'm amazed. That keeps me encouraged. If after 10 years I only had 3 people, I'd be like, well, maybe this isn't my thing. You know what I mean? Because people say, oh, you want to do it, and if it changes one person, then it's worth it. Well, yes. But if you're devoting 20 hours a day sometimes and not making any money or having any reward, and sometimes having to deal with people being a little angry on the internet, may have experienced that, just helping one person might not be enough to go all out and do it. So because of all the people that comment and share and like things and like the page and say such nice things to me, that inspires me and keeps me going on the days that are bad. And when I have things going on in my life, I know that my page, I can come to the page, and whether it's something from the night before or whether I make a new post and I read the comments and I recognize a lot of people, and a lot of people are so kind and just absolutely make my day. I love it, and that alone is the gift back to me, is to have that following, even though, like I said, I can't comprehend 4 million. I think once it got past about 500, that was bigger than my mind could envision. You know what I mean? Because to me, this is a thought, this is a thing that happened, this is something I would want people to know, or this is something I would want a person to know. And so I write things very personally, as if it's me speaking to one person. And I put it out there, and I don't know where it goes in the world from there. It's me in my home with my little dog sleeping behind me. And, so it's never been so big in my head, but it is a big deal. I'm not saying that it's not. I get about 4 million people. Can you imagine? Yeah. And that's what it is. So I don't do what trick or what strategy? None. Zero. I just wrote stuff every day and did the best I could. And that's the truth of it.
Again, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but again, what you demonstrate is you said, pull my awareness away from the numbers essentially, and not worry about the numbers, but just keep doing the work. I put out these memes, or the pictures or the quotes or whatever, and I did that, and then after a certain amount of time, the following grew. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's providing the content, it's doing the thing that you're driven by. I love the fact that you said I quoted myself. I quoted myself once on Facebook not that long ago, like within the last year or something. I put one of my quotes up on the thing, and someone said, "You quoted yourself?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously, right? That's you can
Why
see
not?
it, right? But I mean,
Right.
well, right. I mean, and I do that a lot, or I'll put up a social media meme, or somebody will make one for me or something like that. But the idea being that sometimes, if you do just post things, they do lose. I mean, I've put out stuff for decades that people have used all around the world because they felt they could do that, and God bless them. There's a question from Rick that we might have you answer. Rick says,
Okay.
How to surrender to a higher power play into this point in the conversation? Or does it?
To surrender to a higher power. Well, I mean, that depends on what you personally believe, which is also a bit why I didn't really share the near-death stuff, because, like I said, that's personal. I think your belief system is the most personal thing that you have in your entire life. So there's certain things I wouldn't be able to answer. I can answer them in a general swath. Surrendering it's not giving up. And I'm not the first person to say it. They're two different things. But the way I see it is that surrendering means you're not going to get hitched up on one thing, one method. Like, oh, I'm going to do this and make movies, or in personal sense, that's the guy for me. I'm only going to go out with him. You can't get so hung up on one thing, because then if it's not working, you'll just feel like you're a failure. So surrender to higher power means to me is that you say, I'm doing all that I can the best way that I know how. I'm acting out of love, not fear. I'm acting with faith, not doubt. And I've done all I can. Just going to let it go from there. If I'm not doing something right, I'm going to take a deep breath and see if there's something else I can do. But you keep going in the direction and know that maybe the method, maybe the path, or maybe the pause is necessary. And that's all surrender is being able to stay open and aware, even if you're in an uncomfortable place, or you're not as far along as you thought maybe you would be at that point, or if you're just not feeling happy. It's to find your center and to be able to find some happiness in the present moment again. And that doesn't mean abandon your goals. Just don't be so focused that you'll only be happy then, because then maybe a little while off more than you think it is. And now needs to be good too.
Wow. Very cool. Very cool.
Thank you.
No, it's very beautiful. And I'm going to shift. I'm going to ask you another question. And then after that, I'm going to ask you to do something that I'm not going to ask you about yet. But the next question that I have for you is, you mentioned movie making. So let's talk a little bit about movie making, because a large part of my audience are movie makers, and we've both been in the film business for a long time. So can you tell us a little bit about your background in movies and entertainment?
Well, I think I only did, which I thought was a big deal at the time. I only did, I think, 20. And it was on, you remember Canon XL1 was like the big independent movie thing. And I would get them in film festivals. And I wasn't sure the genre that I wanted. So I did a drama. I did a comedy. I did a horror movie, but not really gory. It was more funny horror movie. But I tried different things and put them out to the different areas. And there were the film festivals in Florida at the time. Do you remember the Blair Witch Project?
Of
And
course.
how big and famous that was? And so pretty much if you wanted to do something in Florida, it had to be a horror movie. And I was like, so I switched from horror then to kind of comedy. And then, like I said, things happened and I wasn't able to I wasn't really able to do that as much as I wanted to do it because it was so expensive. Just to enter one film festival was like $30 to $50. And then they decide if your movie's going to get in or not. And if they have your movie get in, then you have to go there. Not have to, you get to go there. But you get to go there. But then they might show it in a room that seats 500, but there's only 3 people there. So, the timing wasn't right for a little one-person show to do her thing and have people actually see it. And now, like that, I keep going back. That's the only candle video I ever made, but I keep going back to it because it was just yesterday. But the candle video I made in my home on my stovetop at my computer, that took me 2 days. And I'm not even the quickest at it, but it took me 2 days, and I posted it last night with no advance notice or anything, but already it's had like 5,000 people see it. That would have cost $1 billion to do back in the day of the independent movies, And I'm sorry, you're asking me about the past and somehow I swing it to the future, but I think that's kind of just the way I think anyways, because when I do think about the past and if things were more difficult, it just makes me even more grateful for today. Like my mind just bounces back to, yeah, that was rough, or that was hard, or that was when I started, I didn't know what I was doing. But isn't that amazing? It just keeps coming back to today.
Awesome. I want to thank you for that. So you mostly produced movies. You made your own.
I wrote them and acted in them and edited.
But that's what I mean. I mean, you were the progenitor of
the whole thing. Yeah. Sorry, I was thinking producer is like the guy with the cigar who goes, "All right, you guys, here's some money, make a movie." Which no,
well, I didn't take you for the guy with the cigar, that's for sure. But let me ask you this, and then and this is partly because we're gonna have to close out in a little bit. But
no, oh.
It's gone by pretty fast, huh? Your book, Changing in 80 Days. Let's talk about that.
This was not a planned one, and this is what you were talking about with the adversity. I got really sick and I went broke, and it started with a hurricane. September 2017, we had a hurricane come in. I was doing pretty well with everything. Everything was pretty rolling along, and somehow that, even though directly I survived, it was wonderful. But I did have a moment where I thought, well, if this is it, when the garage door sounds like it's going to fly off were they hinges on a garage? I don't know. The garage door sounds like it's going to fly off, and I don't know if the trees are going to crash in. I thought, well, if this is it, is there anything I wish I would have done? And I did think, I wish that I would have done more video stuff. And as far as my life itself and making peace with everything and having good relationships, I was good, which is an amazing place to be because I was not there in 1998. And then I wanted to do something that could really help people come out of like a dark spot. So what happened? I had to go into a dark spot, not conscious, not a choice, but from September 2017 all the way through 2018, I had some kind of illness or some kind of drama show up every single week and sometimes hang around into successive weeks. My income, 95% of it went away. It wasn't that much that 5% could handle anything, but I was garbage. So then by October, I think the last thing was, I was like, okay, you know what? I'm not even going anywhere. I'm going to have a nap in my house. And I'm still writing every day. I'm still posting every day. If you look back to my stuff from 2017 and 2018, it's a lot of find the bright side stuff. And so it changed my things. And I think they relate more when people are going through a lot of stuff. It's not that I ever switched to negative, but they're a little bit coming out from darker places because that's where I was. So there was some time left. It was October 2018. There was some time left. I thought, 2019 is going to be so much different. So done with this year. It's going to be so different. And I thought, why am I doing that? Why am I going to wait for a whole other next year, January? Why don't I just start it now? So I Googled how many days are left of 2018, and there was 83. I was like, fine, I'm starting today. What a perfect day to start. And I typed I think I typed it into my Instagram, but it might have been Facebook. And I put days left of 2018, day 1. And I just sat out on my back patio, let some thoughts flow in with the intention of get back to calm and happy and that. Because honestly, by that point, after a while, when your neurotransmitters and whatnot fire off, you get into just a panic. I mean, I cried at the drop of a hat, and I was a little bit of a spaz with a lot of things. I said, I want to get back to me. So I started with that one, day 83. And then the next day I went out to the patio and just sat. days left to 2018, day 82. And just stuff came through and I wrote it out. Well, after about 20, 30 of them, someone asked, they said, are these all in a book? And I said, no, but that's a good idea. So then after the year ended, the first couple of weeks, honestly, nothing changed. I was still having crazy stuff happen. But I kept with it. I stayed with it. And after 20 days, 30 days, I mean, I really felt better inside. And not everything changed on the outside, but it didn't affect me as much on the inside. So then when the year ended, I tossed out 3 of them. And you know that Improve Your Life, or no, that's my book. You know the one Around the World in 80 Days? So I was thinking of that. And I thought, well, 80 is a good number. So I tossed out 3 and made it 80. And I made this Improve Your Life in 80 Days. And I just changed the order. So instead of day 83, that became day 1. And instead of day 82, that became day 2. And so what you do, if you've been in a real dark place or you've had one of those washing machine years where you get so knocked around, you get one of these books and you get a blank journal. You don't have to, but it helps a lot. And you just do 1 page a day. And it's almost like an advent calendar. Don't look ahead at the other days. Just do 1 page a day. And can I say guarantee? No, because everyone's different. But 100% for me, and now for a lot of people, they've discovered things about themselves or rediscovered things about themselves. And just, it changes so much. And I'm kind of one of those under promise, over deliver. So yes, it says improve your life in 80 days, but it could transform. I didn't want to use the word transform because it seems so overused, and Transformers, it always reminds me of those trucks that turn into robots. So it's improve your life in 80 days, but it could say improve your life a lot in 80 days because it's going to be coming from the inside. And the way you look at other things, the way you look at life, the way you look at the adversity, the way you see the peaceful things and the pleasant things and the wonderful things, it can be totally different just by your own focus. And the reason that it's 80 days started out as an accident. It started out where I didn't want to wait till January to have a better year. But since reading that, I've read about changing habits, and there's a lot of things that say 21 days or 28 days, but it's actually the average is 66. So this is 80. So changing the way you think and realigning those neuronal pathways and developing new things. I mean, we get bombarded with information, certain ones stick, and just like a pinball, some of it's random, but the pathways that we have that are deeper, such as a pathway that says nothing good ever happens to me, or everyone always takes advantage of me, or bad ones, information is going to go along that pathway and reinforce and deepen it even further. So what this book will do, and what you will do with this book, is you'll create new pathways or dust off some that maybe got covered up with a bunch of years of real hardship, and you'll find the pathways that allow you to see yourself as stronger, wiser, more empowered. You'll be able to see better opportunities in your life, be able to appreciate things more, and that will just deepen and continue. And the step you take towards something that's wonderful leads to more wonderful things. I think the law of attraction, maybe there's a lot of woo-woo to it, maybe not. Maybe it's just about the way you think and process, but maybe also each single little decision that you make leads to a totally different one than if you had made other little decisions. So it's not a law of attraction and one big magic thing, but it's really just the path and the steps that you take in your life. And the good ones and the positive ones, the honest good and positive ones that you see with a positive reality, they're going to lead to a different world than if you hadn't taken those same ones at all. It's just kind of a logic thing rather than something you believe in or not, the law of attraction. That's 80 days.
Improve Your Life in 80 Days is available at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and on your website?
Yeah.
And again, they can visit you at Happiness in Your Life on Facebook, in Facebook. So it's a page itself. And then you have your blog, which is Happiness in Your Life with it's www.hi.
The Hile. Yeah, it's the HIYL. It's Happiness in Your Life. So I thought it would be catchy, but it's not at all.
We may have put that up incorrectly the last time we put that up.
Oh, really? That's all right. I'll link it. Well, I agree with most things. Every article that I share on my page, it goes to that. So
I want to make sure that we have HTTPS. So the last thing I want to do, and that was beautiful, truly beautiful. I loved the description of the law of attraction and all that you shared. It's very poignant and worthwhile for people to embrace and embody. Is to let you do something that you've been doing, and that is to read something from your book. So if you want to take a couple minutes and read whichever book you want to read something from.
I want you to do it. I want you to pick a book 1 through 5, and pick a page 1 through 120.
I'm picking for you to read which book you're going to read. 1 to 5. Okay. Yep. 4 and between 1 and 20.
1 and 120.
1 and 120, 72.
Nice.
And I am going to go. It is www.the happiness in your life.
Yes, the HIYL. All right. Yes. Rex, you have picked from Trust Book. And I trust that you will have picked a perfect message for you today. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Observe and reflect, and try to stay unbiased but aware. Trust yourself, but also have compassion for those unhealed parts of you. We all have them. That may go into survival mode when there isn't actually an active threat. It's not easy, especially if you're in the process of rebuilding your confidence and trust. But do your best. Have confidence in yourself and in your resilience, and you won't be as scared to fall into a trap that you panic whenever a situation looks like it might be one. Be honest about the little things that don't seem to matter. Sometimes people try to avoid conflict by telling little white lies to try and make themselves look better. Though they may seem little and insignificant, they can happen many times a day and turn into a really bad habit. They can also add up and erupt like a volcano later on when it's noticed that you always do them. If you are running 20 minutes late, don't say you're running 10 minutes late because it sounds better. If you don't really like something, say you don't really like it, but say it in a kind way. If you're not really happy, communicate that instead of trying to hide it and please the other person. Assuming they don't want you to be happy and that they would rather you hide any disappointment or unhappiness doesn't say much about what you really think about them. You may be accidentally setting them up to call them selfish later, but the truth is they never knew because you didn't ever tell them. They took you at your word when you said you liked something or were happy many, many times. By not telling them, you're chipping away at the amount of trust that they'll be able to have for you when it finally comes out. And then the next part, it goes on with be honest about the big things that matter. These are ways, 5 unbreakable rules for unbreakable trust. And it's things that you can do yourself to make sure that, that you can see in the mirror. Because if you're a person who doesn't want to hurt people's feelings and to go, oh yeah, I love that, you're going to think everyone else is saying, oh yeah, I love that, when they don't really like your stuff either. So it kind of clears the mirror. And it allows for that deep connection that everyone really ultimately wants. Thank you so much for picking that. That was a good one.
Well, that was a good one. Thank you so much. And Mo Rock, the CEO, the owner, publisher of the Los Angeles Tribune, went amazing and how inspiring. So Mo,
thank you so much, Mo.
It's so good to have him here. And we've got nice comments from other people who are watching and listening in. And I want to thank you so much for being here today. And not only for being here today, but all the work that you've done throughout the years, and for me being a follower on your page for a decade or more, and then having the opportunity to sit here today and talk with you and share with you. I'm really thrilled. I'm really happy. I'm really pleased, and we have to do it again.
Yes, definitely. I'd love to.
And I very much wish you the best. I did very much enjoy the book Karma, and I encourage everyone to get any one of your books from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and to visit your website, to read your blog, and to get in touch with you through Happiness in Your Life page on Facebook. Just make sure that everybody knows where to get you. Is there any final thing? What we're going to do in just a moment is I'm going to invite you to hang out in the green room for a little bit while I close out the show, and then I'll catch up with you right afterwards. But Is there any closing thought? I mean, you left such great things.
Sure do. Rex, I want to say thank you to you, because you are an author and you are a movie maker and you do a lot of things, but you are taking your time to speak to people about their stuff and to give that to other people. And it's such a great, amazing, selfless gift. And I appreciate you so much for that. And the Los Angeles Tribune, you know, I was seeing the history with that little commercial, and I had the horse and that, and it was from 1886, and how amazing that too has evolved into what it is present day, you know. And I just thank you for this whole thing. Thank you for this whole experience. I appreciate you and the Tribune and your friendship and your support.
And thank you. And so that everybody knows, and that is that the reason why the Tribune is doing what it's doing is because of its owner, Mo Rock.
Thank you, Mo Rock.
Truly, it's under his leadership that so many things are changing, and the Tribune is attempting, and not only attempting, but actually leading the way for helping people live an inspired life.
That's
not
great.
just report the news, but to have actually add value to people in their life and have them grow and develop and to contribute to the world. So
how wonderful for that, when the news usually goes by the, you know, if it bleeds, it leads, you know, let's get something to make people react, to make little angry face on their thing. And this total opposite. Thank you to Mo Rock for doing that.
I know it matters who's at the helm. It matters who's at the helm. So, and I want to thank you for being here and sharing this time and sharing this space with us and with the people who will watch this, not only who have watched it live today, but who will watch it. I encourage everyone to share it, to, again, continue to comment, interact wherever you find it, whether it's on Facebook or LinkedIn or on YouTube, Periscope, Twitch, Twitter, or Roku. The best thing that you can do to help move things forward is to interact, engage with the page, with my guest, Doe, here, wherever you find her. Because what that does is that actually sets into motion certain things in the algorithms of these platforms that make it more visible. So when you're interacting, leaving comments, sharing things, and asking questions, that helps everyone. So I'm very, very pleased that you've been here today, and we'll do it again. And I want to thank you so much again for all the inspiration, all the motivation, all the uplifting, and all the happiness you bring to all the people around the world.
Thank you
to all of your followers and friends, blessings, peace, and love.
Thank you. And thank you to everyone for being here too.
Absolutely marvelous. So hang out for a little bit. I'll be with you in just a moment. I'm going to say goodbye to all these fine folks here. But,
okay.
I'll be seeing you in a minute. Thank you. And with that, I want to say thank you who's watching. I want to again thank the Los Angeles Tribune and Mo Rock. And I want to remind you that there's a show every single Thursday. We do that. We may, on the week for Thanksgiving, I think we're going to be changing the day that we do the show, because Thanksgiving obviously falls on a Thursday. So we'll either do a show that Tuesday or that Wednesday. It may not be at the same hour. It might be a little earlier or a little later. We're going to figure all that out. But we do want to be able to bring you a show even during that holiday week. So we will. My next guest coming up is a gentleman who you will find shocking and surprising. He is AZD. He is a force to be reckoned with. And he's got an event coming up with Ori Spado, AZD himself, Mo Rock, and I play a little part in there. I'm a guest speaker in there, coming up on I think it's called Money, Power, and Respect. And it's about how we move through the world as men, doing what we do to be powerful men and influential people, but also how to be respectful and how to treat other people, especially the women in this world. Because another friend of us wrote a remarkable book about the power of women by the men who love them, or I forget the title, but Jay Nolan wrote a book. There's so many incredible things. Doria Cordova, who's been a guest here, just re-released her new book, Access to Cash, part of the Money and You series. And I want to remind you also of all the fabulous other shows here on the Los Angeles Tribune, because there are lots of them. I'm going to be a guest on the business show on Monday and other things. And I mean, we just got so much coming up. So be sure to stay tuned. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your support. I also want to let you know that I am the author of Life on Your Terms. And when you get Life on Your Terms from Amazon, if you take your receipt code and you go to rexsikes.com/book, it's rexsikes.com/book. I don't have it on the screen right now, but I will give you a $497 absolutely. It's not a free training, but I will give it to you absolutely free as a bonus training. It's called the Mastery Loop. It's an online video training that teaches you or helps you learn how we learn easier, faster, quicker, and how we're able to master things, whether it's your thoughts, your feelings, or your behaviors, or any skill that you want to do. So it's my gift for you for getting Life on Your Terms from Amazon. So if you go to if you go to Rex Sikes, you see rexsikes.com on the screen there, add / and book, BOOK, and that will give you all the information you need. I am so pleased that you're here. Thank you so much for being here and taking your time out. Again, please share the show forward for other people to benefit. And if you've enjoyed your time here, we've enjoyed having you here. And I want to thank Robert for thanking us and all the fine people who've been here today. Thank you all. And with that, I hope you have a fabulous rest of the day. Remember, I always tell everybody, if you consider everything a blessing, everything is a blessing. So celebrate everything. Namaste.